So, I asked 100 wrestling YouTubers one simple question. That question being, what should be the main event of WrestleMania 38? And in this video, I run you through the results. Now, for this study, experiment, whatever you want to call it, I asked some pretty big names, some YouTubers who you probably have heard of, you've probably subscribed to. Some of the names include WrestlinGifs, I asked the Botch guy, I asked Falbak, I asked OTRS Central, I asked C Wrestling. I asked a few of the big names and got some replies. So in this video, I'm going to go over what some of your favorite YouTubers and some YouTubers who deserve some recognition and just a bunch of wrestling YouTubers think should be the main event of WrestleMania 38. So for starters, I just want to say 100 YouTubers were asked. If you weren't asked, no big deal. There are plenty of big issues in the world. Me not asking you a question in a fun little video, no big deal. So I got 77 replies in total. Okay, so to the 23 people who didn't reply, shout out to you, much appreciated. Nonetheless, 77 replies out of 100, not too bad, and the results are pretty interesting. Now, I will say, some people for this definitely did do some trolling. The results aren't totally honest, I must say that. I think to the person, you know who you are, who voted for, oh, I don't know, Bischoff versus Hogan for control of WCW, you know who you are. Okay, Eric Bischoff versus Hulk Hogan in the main event of WrestleMania 38. Come on now. Come on now. And then to the one person, I'll just show it on screen, who said something along the lines of, it might fail, or whatever, and didn't give me an answer. Props to you too. So, with that being said, time to get into the answers. So, to no surprise at all, the most voted match for what should main event WrestleMania 38 was Roman Reigns versus The Rock. I don't think that should really surprise anyone. I think the unanimous consensus of what should main event 38 is Reigns versus Rock. For one, just because of the trends of the 8s, okay? Mania 18 was Hogan Rock, Mania 28 was Cena Rock, and now 38, Reigns Rock makes sense. So that got a lot of the votes. Some of the big names who you've probably heard of who voted for this one, oh, I don't know, one, WrestlinGifs believes Reigns vs. Rock should main event WrestleMania 38. Very interesting. As well as Falbak. I mean, you may have heard of him. He's a few subs. So, yeah, one of the community's biggest YouTubers believes that as well. We also had OTRS Central, J-Rants, TM161, our boy Bonafide Heat, a guy who you may know from the channel and as well as the Elite Heat podcast. Go sub to it if you haven't yet. Real One, and a bunch more, and then people like Grizzly Wrestling and Provoked, and literally we had a lot of votes. In total, out of the 77 total votes, 29 of the 77 votes were for Roman Reigns versus The Rock. So that totals out to 37.7% of the total votes were for Reigns versus The Rock. Some people might be surprised with that. Some people might think it would probably be a higher percentage of the votes. But then again, you'll hear some of the answers later on and be like, okay, so the percentages are a bit skewed. Because as I said, some of these answers, guys, straight up ridiculous. I mean, Bischoff, Hogan, I had one person say Ryback, Goldberg, it might fail, like answers like that. But anyway, so 29 of the 77 people, or YouTubers, voted for Reigns vs. Rock. Then coming in at number 2, second place, we had 13 of the YouTubers vote for Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. So, if for percentages, that's 16.9% of the votes were for Reigns versus McIntyre. For this one, a few of the notable YouTubers you may have heard of. One, Superkick Studios voted for this one. Rated R for Wrestling. You had Provoked. He voted twice because he can. And yeah, just generally speaking, pretty decent. 16.9% believe Reigns versus McIntyre. It's a good shout as well. Okay, if you can't get The Rock for whatever reason, his movie schedule or what have you, Reigns and McIntyre is a good shout. Okay, it's the two biggest stars of this, like, era. Some say Seth Rollins. Get out of here. It's Reigns and McIntyre. So, yeah, very interesting to see if they do that. That'd be cool. From here, in third place, we had Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Okay, this one doesn't involve Roman Reigns. One of the few that doesn't. Lashley versus Lesnar. This one got 8 votes. Okay, so in total, that's 10.4%. Lashley versus Lesnar. It'd be an interesting match. It really would. You got these two absolute freaks, just behemoths going at it. It's been a dream match for many years. I think this would be sick. Okay, some of the notable YouTubers for this one, I mean, you had Reviewer Experience, Destructor, you had Kill Switch, just, it'd be an interesting match all around. So yeah, Lashley Lesnar, that came in third. Then from here, we had a few, like, we had a bit of a drop-off. So the next, most wanted match per YouTubers was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. This one, a notable YouTuber who wants this is the Botch guy. Shout out to you. Incredibly positive dude. Botch guy votes, Reigns versus Lesnar, as do 3 other voters. So that comes out to be 5.2% of the votes for Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Not a bad option. I mean, you got the Paul Heyman dynamic in there. Heyman's in the middle. Reigns and Brock. I think that'd be pretty cool. As far as other ones, we had 3 votes of the 77 was for Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. The most notable for this one, C Wrestling. I mean, Reigns and Rollins, I think that's a great, main event for a Survivor Series, or a great main event for, a Clash of Champions. I don't view that as a WrestleMania main event, personally, but that's just me, So yeah, that one got 3.9% of the votes. And then from there, the rest of the options, the other ones that got 3 votes, Reigns versus Cena. If they don't do that at SummerSlam, Reigns versus Cena, absolutely. Reigns versus Big E, that was an option as well. And then this one, I want to shout this one out. So the Smarkbusters, really interesting pick here. The Smarkbusters voted for a certain match, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. Now that one, as far as a triple threat goes, that's really damn interesting. Okay, that for a triple threat match, I'd be totally on board for. That'd be just pretty damn sick. So yeah, that's the Smarkbusters vote. A Reigns, McIntyre, Lesnar triple threat. That sounds pretty cool. And just generally, that's really, I mean, the main crux of the votes, because other votes you had Reigns versus Edge got 1, Reigns versus Jimmy Uso, Reigns versus Goldberg, Reigns versus Keith Lee. Shout out to you, Tyler Quinn Williams. You had Cena versus Orton for OTR Essential. He voted that as well. Just a bunch of interesting votes. So yeah, that's the overall kind of voting, just so you guys are aware of that. Now, because I'm a bit of a nerd, I guess, I don't know, I made some graphs and pie charts for this kind of stuff, just because, why not? So you're going to see them on screen as I speak. One of these is a pie chart which has just the general what should main event WrestleMania 38 pie chart numbers or whatever. Then you have the what should main event WrestleMania 38 bar graph, made that, and then we move on to the what should main event WrestleMania 38 10,000 subs or more edition. So this one is WrestlinGifs. You have Falbak, you have OTRS Central, Superkick Studios, and the Botch guy. That's what that graph looks like. Not bad. Then we've got what should main event WrestleMania 38 5,000 subs or more edition, which this one is all the YouTubers I just mentioned, adding in TM161, myself, because I included myself in this data, because why not? And there are a few others who are escaping me off the top of my head now, so that's that one, Smarkbusters, and I think there was another one maybe. So yeah, that's that one. And then lastly, we've got the 1,000 subs or more edition. So this one, much more interesting data. Out of the 1,000 plus sub YouTubers who responded in this investigation, 34% said Reigns versus Rock, 23% said Reigns McIntyre, and 15% says Lashley Lesnar. So not as skewed as you may believe. So yeah, that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoy. This has been a bit of a fun little investigation. I asked 100 YouTubers what should main event WrestleMania 38, and those are the results. Reigns Rock wins in a landslide, as you'd expect, then Reigns McIntyre, Lashley Lesnar, and so on and so forth. So that's been the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to like, comment, sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.